After a successful tour against India at home, Richards arrived in England in 1976, confident in his ability to dominate any attack. Despite missing the second test with influenza, Richards made 829 runs at an average of more than 118, as the West Indies completed a dominant 3-0 series win. Richards made 1,710 test runs in 1976. In an era of great fast bowlers, he was the batsman the quick men feared most of all.
He was in a class by himself, Viv Richards. I think that he could well be termed the Muhammad Ali of cricket, in the sense that he took on everyone. And he didn't just do it by the bat. He said it, he talked, and his bravado was rubbed off on many of the players that played with him. I was very lucky to be in a team like that, and just learning from people like Viv.
Well, he's the best batsman I ever bowled at. I think that goes without question, really. He had this aura about him. He dominated sides. He dominated bowling attacks. He had a swagger, but it was a believable swagger. There was no arrogance or no real arrogance to it. He was just an unbelievable presence, and certainly the hardest man I've ever had to bowl at in county or test match cricket, because you just didn't know where you were going to bowl the ball.
Richards has hit 5 boundaries from 9 balls.
One of the fiercest competitors, really. I think a lot of opponents approach Viv from the wrong way. I think if you made Viv feel comfortable, you had a better chance. But the moment you confronted him, you're on the losing side. A tremendous batsman and, of course, a great competitor.
Australia's new sensation after Lilly and Thompson and those guys was Rodney Hogg. Had great pace. And Hoggy ran up and bowled his bounce at Viv at the MCG. And Viv hooked, was a bit late on the shot and got hit on his jaw. Viv used to bat with chewing gum those days. He used to bat and chew, and when he got hit on his jaw, Rodney Hogg is there almost looking at him to say, isn't he going off? Isn't he going off? And Viv didn't go off, of course. And after a few minutes, Viv settled down again. And Hoggy thought to himself, hey, that didn't send him off. I'll really send him off now, and charged in and bowled this other bouncer at Viv. But obviously, Viv must have been waiting on this bouncer. And although it might have been quicker than the previous one, it went out of the ground. And the MCG is a big ground. And Viv hit it hard and far.
In the 1979 World Cup final at Lord's, Richards made 138 not out from 157 balls, the first in a long list of match-winning one-day international knocks.
I umpired, of course, 3 World Cup finals that he played in, and tremendous one-day cricketer, marvellous. He just changed the game completely. Once he got in, he just changed the game. You couldn't bowl at him. Wherever you bowl at him, he murdered you.
Viv's presence, I think, came from the way that he strode to the crease. He strode to the crease, and if you were sort of silly enough to look at him, you would think, oh, this guy means business. And Viv quite often would, he'd stride to the crease, he'd take block, and then he used to sort of have this habit of banging the grip on the top of his handle, and then he very firmly tapped the bat. Everything about him was, I've come here to get you, and you better be at your best, otherwise I'm going to get you. So that was, it was an intimidating presence. If you allowed yourself to be intimidated, Viv, was on top of you straight away.
There's no contest with that one. That is a big 6.
Viv Richards, he's probably my favourite cricketer. In a one-day game at the MCG, we had an attack that included Lilly, Thompson, I think Jeff Dimmick was playing, Rodney Hogg. Pretty formidable pace attack. And Viv made 150 in this one-day innings, and he just bludgeoned it and smashed it and whacked it to all parts of the MCG. And you can imagine in a one-day game, you've basically got the field pretty much spread when he's on strike, and he still managed to hit boundary after boundary after boundary. And at the time, I never thought anyone would bat better than that.
In 1981, Test cricket came to Antigua, Richards' home island. He had married 3 days earlier, a major event for the island. Anything less than a century now would be an anticlimax.
In 1981, Antigua was awarded a test match, the final test of the series against England. And Richards actually got married just before that test, and of course that was a very major event on the island. And then he came out in the test match, and said about scoring a test century there. And he took much longer than he normally would over a test century, but it was as if he said himself that the whole event wouldn't be complete unless he was able to score 100, which he surely did.
By 1985, Richards had taken over from Clive Lloyd as West Indian captain. He would lead the team for 6 years and would never lose a series.
I think Viv, when he was growing up as a young man, his father told him, Viv, you might be from a small island, but you're a big man. And you're going to prove to the world that you are a big man. And Viv went out to the world and proved that. Competitive to the point where if things weren't going right on a cricket field, he would almost lose his cool because he was so competitive. But fortunately for us in the West Indies, we won a lot when Viv was in the team. So he was able to maintain his calm and his cool and just get his job done. But talk about competitive, Viv Richards, highly competitive.
Richards led his team to a 5-0 thrashing of England at home in 1986. He finished the series with a century and 56 balls, the fastest ever Test century, as measured by the number of balls faced.
And he's gone and got that century with a mighty 6 down to mid-wicket. Typical Vivian Richards stuff.
The records kept falling. In a one-day international against New Zealand in 1987, Richards became the only player to make a century and take 5 wickets in a one-day international.
And there is 5 wickets for Vivian Richards. What a day it's been for the West Indies captain.
Richards continued in international cricket until 1991, and in county cricket until 1993. He was later knighted, the first Antiguan to receive a knighthood for services to cricket.
Viv Richards was a very competitive man, not just in cricket. He did a little bit of boxing before he became known as a great cricketer. He was very competitive in that as a footballer, very competitive. And of course on the cricket field, playing with the West Indies, highly competitive and a very proud man of himself, his nation, and of course the region.
He came in to an outstanding West Indies team under Clive Lloyd, and he had Gordon Greenidge and Desmond Haynes opening the batting in front of him and others around him. But he was the key. He was the hub around which the batting revolved during his career, and during that long period when West Indies dominated international cricket.
He was, he was a great inspiration to all, young and old, and he gave 120%, 130%. He just gave his all every time he went out there. I remember him taking it. He had a sort of back problem in Trinidad, and the doctor gave him some cortisone and so on. He could hardly walk, and he went out. He took the injections, went out and bat, and that's how much he loved West Indies cricket, and he loved this game of ours. So, he was just a great ambassador for the sport.
Many great batsmen have seemed like ordinary men until they took guard and began to ply their trade. Richards was different. He had an aura, a swagger that made it clear he was special, even as he sauntered to the crease.
He was the man, and he had that. He was known as Smoking Joe Frazier because of his similarity in build to the former heavyweight boxer, even from a young age when he first came into the team. And that's the kind of dominance that he had. That was a kind of attitude, a heavyweight boxer, that I'm coming to get you. No matter what happens, I don't mind how fast you are, how much you spin the ball, no matter what kind of conditions they are, I'm coming to get you. When he walked out, you had a feeling, a presence was there when Richards went out, and usually he converted.
Cool. Until you see him bat, really, then he explodes. I mean, you just know that watching him bat, he tries to give you this cool image of totally in charge all the time, but you can see that he really wants to give it such a belting, and that's that 1 millisecond that he changes from being a very cool customer to just letting everything out.
Viv Richards saw himself as an entertainer. When Viv Richards got 100, he didn't say to himself on too many occasions, I'm going to make this a double or I'm going to make this a triple. He thought with the West Indies team that he was in, when we got to 300 odd runs or over 300, that was a lot of runs for us with the bowling attack that we had. So there was no point in him sitting down and taking a new guard and talking about. He just started playing a few shots. Many times we would get 100, 130, 140, he's out. And the bowlers on the opposition team would breathe a sigh of relief to say, okay, he thinks he has had enough, great, let him go. Bibb was just there to entertain.
Sir Vivian Richards played in 121 Test matches. He made 8,540 runs at an average of 50.23, including 24 centuries. In one-day internationals, he made 6,721 runs at an average of 47, with 11 centuries, and 118 wickets at an average of 35.83.
History will judge him as a great player. No two ways about it, because people would have seen him on video, people would have seen the shots that he played and seen him destroy bowling attacks. But at the same time, a few people might doubt, why didn't he get bigger runs? Why didn't he get doubles and triples? All I can say to them is he didn't get them because they weren't necessary.
Viv would have just given enormous pride to the Caribbean islands, and especially the island he was from, Antigua. Gave them real strength. I think everybody in the West Indies and the Caribbean were proud of that West Indian side. They were the best team in the world. They took some serious demantling as well, didn't they? I mean, they ruled the world for a long time.
Viv Richards made batting look so simple. Viv Richards was somebody who, when he went out to bat, you knew that you would be entertained. He would play his shots no matter what the position of his team, and he was explosive. It was unbelievable.
His record speaks for himself. It was great to have him in the side, because you knew you had somebody there who, regardless of the situation, could bring you back into the game.
He was so important, I think, for my career, and I'd like to think I was for his to a degree. Even when I was captain of England in the West Indies and we had all kinds of problems, he would take the time out to come and see me and sit me down and make sure it was all right, and anything he could do. And also, best player, in my opinion, that's ever lived.
Sir Vivian Richards, like Grace almost a century earlier, had a unique and commanding presence on the cricket field. For this and for his ability to produce astonishingly powerful innings and demoralise the finest bowling attacks, Sir Vivian Richards ranks among ESPN's legends of cricket.